Hi, this is Ken Vella, live event host for Hot Wheels, Muscles and Mojo, Wheels and Waves Malibu, voted #1 in talk radio. Oh yeah. Right here, right now, you're listening to Every Car Has a Story with JoepeP and Dusty.
Bucket seats, flashy wheels. This is as close to a real sports car as some people ever get. But others demand the McCoy. The Triumph TR4A lets you know what a real sports car is all about. Big power, 4-speed stick, disc brakes, bucket seats. If you demand the McCoy, see the TR4A at your Triumph dealer. You'll find it alongside the Triumph Spitfire, the new GT6 Fastback, and 2000 sedan. You get only one shot at life. Make it a Triumph. See the yellow pages for your nearest Triumph dealer.
And good afternoon, everyone. This is JoepeP, behind the scenes around the world and through the nation and everything. You're listening to Every Car Has a Story. And with me, as always, is my trusty sidekick, Captain Dusty, who knows the inner workings of the 1970 Ford Fairlane.
Wow, 1974 Ford Fairlane. That's kind of a toughie.
That's a toughie.
Yeah, that's a toughie. I don't know if I ever rode in a Ford Fairlane 1970. I remember Ford Fairlanes in the mid-60s. The 70s were a bit late for me, I think, for the Ford Fairlanes. I think back then the Pontiacs were coming on. We kind of switched away from Ford's General Motors. But hey, talking about the Triumph, the TR3, TR4.
Yeah.
Great cars. A little bit of knowledge you probably didn't know. Triumph went out of business.
You ready?
Yeah, Triumph went out of business, unfortunately. I mean, the TR3s were great cars when you were in college. If you had one of those, that was what they called a chick magnet. And,
Yes.
of course, my dad had a Spitfire. I think he got into foreign cars because I had an MGA, and he loved that Spitfire. I had a couple of them. That was a great little
They
car.
were a nice, to me, I thought they were a great looking car.
They absolutely were. Of course, the British engineering, they weren't built to last, but they were built for fun. Here's the interesting thing about it. Triumph went out of business, but they could possibly still be out there because the name and the company name is owned by none other than BMW. There you go. How about that? So
Wow.
Great story, great car. The other interesting thing about those cars is right after World War II, most of the British cars were made out of aluminum, and everybody said, why aluminum?
Sure.
Well, because during the war, Great Britain was building so many airplanes. When the war ended, they had all this excess aluminum, and their steel mills were shut down. They couldn't get any steel. So what did they do? Built them out of aluminum, and that's the rest of the story because, hey, you got a British aluminum car.
But I gotta tell you this. I was on the Joe Catanacci show this morning. We were talking about how automotive production stopped 2 months after the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Right.
And since this is June 6th, D-Day,
Yes.
I just have to tell you this. Now, this is just the figures from General Motors, because all the car companies, everybody was pitching in. Automobile production stopped. These are just some of the figures. Chevrolet, okay? 1942 to 45, they made 60,000 bombers and cargo planes for Pratt and Whitney. 60,000.
Wow.
They made 500,000 trucks. They made 3,000 9mm cannon barrels. They made 1 million tons of, and you'll know what this is. What is a pour rings? Pour rings?
How do you spell it?
Porgings.
Pour rings. I don't know. That sounds like
anybody knows,
probably some kind of rifling for
you
cannons. Yeah.
And then they made 3,800 Staghound armored cars. Now that was just General Motors.
Yeah, I tell you, it's a great story. Concourse today is D-Day, 75 years from what they call the Crusade in Europe, and there's some great stories about D-Day. Do we have time for a Stump Joe D-Day question?
Sure, we could do that. Listen, Nick, do you have that photo of Melissa Mormon that I had sent? We could just put that up. She is.
Yep.
Now, Melissa works for the Wilmington Parking Deck Authority, and
Sure.
that's, of course, where all the Every Car Has a Story people park. And she's a big fan of our show.
Well, that's great.
So we just want to say a special shout out. She's a sweet gal, and guys, she's single.
Ooh.
So anyway, but a special shout out to Melissa. Thank you so much. So let's get on with the.
Well, this is a very special D-Day trivia question or a stump joke question, and I'm going to give you as much help as I can. D-Day, which was June 6, 1944.
Yep.
And, of course, a lot of famous people went ashore, including, oh, golly, you name it. John Ford was there.
Clark Gable.
J.D. Salinger was there. All these wonderful people. Well,
Yep.
this particular fellow went ashore, and he was shot. And he was shot in the chest, and he was shot in the finger.
Yikes.
Now, luckily, when he was shot in the chest, his cigarette case stopped a bullet.
Yes.
However, he did lose a finger.
Oh.
So this famous person was on Star Trek, and at the time his name was Lieutenant James Doonan. Joe, the question is, who was this person on Star Trek?
I know that. Nick probably knows that. Why? It was Captain Scotty. Scotty did it.
You're absolutely right. It was Scotty. Give us what? More-
Give us more power. But Captain, it can't go any faster. It's only a 4-cylinder Ford.
But isn't that a great story? And he said he spent a great deal of time hiding his hand where he had missed the finger that was shot.
Sure.
And I guess if you watch very closely the old Star Treks, you'll probably see us trying to protect his hand from
Wow.
that terrible wound that he got on D-Day in Normandy.
Wow.
What a story. Huh?
Well, God bless him.
Yep.
But I mean, there's so many. I mean, if you see anybody, women, men in their 90s, they were there. They were kids. And my mother
Right.
always called it the gray generation because it was they didn't have time to grow up.
Oh, that's
you
right.
know, and to fly a fighter plane at that time was like
At the-
$45,000.
Right,
back
yeah,
then.
that's right. And these kids were 21, 22, 23 years old. The kids that fought in the Battle of the Bulge were sleeping in tank traps and freezing to death. They're 19, 20 years old.
Yep.
You young people out there today, the sacrifice that your grandparents made for you is something you should really appreciate.
Ask them.
You're
Ask
right.
them.
Yeah, these young fellas never had a chance to grow up. You're absolutely right.
No, and you know the thing is that there was a man that just parachuted. He was 97 years old, and he parachuted out of a DC-3,
Mm-hmm.
and it's incredible. So, hey, speaking about DC-3s
Sure.
and
Yes.
Montana, where Kayla in Search of Classic Cars with Zen, she'll be on in a minute. I saw this on CBS Sunday morning editorial.
Mm-hmm.
A group of people restored I think it's a DC-8 called Miss Montana.
Was it a DC-3 or a C-47 or was it a DC-8? I think that was a C-47.
C4, okay.
It was
I'm wrong.
C-47. That was the military version of the DC-3.
So,
And you're right. I saw a picture of that, and that's absolutely a beautiful airplane. We had a fella come into Manifest Design, and Manifest has absolutely gorgeous hand-formed aluminum models. And he was looking at the Manifest C-47. He picked it up, and he was looking at it. And this thing is about, I don't know, how
big.
pretty big
Pretty
model.
big, yep.
And he's turning around looking at it, and it turns out that his brother owned a C-47 that was completely redone in the invasion colors and had been flown to Oshkosh. So it was
Wow.
in his family. So these airplanes are still around. The reenactors are still around. They say that the C-47 DC-3 was one of the most perfect airplanes that was ever built.
Well,
Great story.
Great stories. Well, Kayla's in our virtual reality dressing room right now.
Okay.
And so when we have her come on in. And good afternoon, Kayla, or good morning out there in Montana. How are you this week?
Pretty good, pretty busy. How are you?
Well, busy. You're always busy as a bee.
busy.
This gal is like, if she isn't tearing the engine out of something, she's doing a video for us, or she's ready to go on a road trip because a gentleman bought the 67 Pontiac that we
Yeah.
did a feature on a couple weeks ago, and so she's going to get that all saddled up. But so tell us about today's car.
So we'll be talking about the 1970 Fairlane,
Yep.
which was the also known as a 1970 Torino, however, that it is an upper model or the sports model of the Fairlane.
Oh, I didn't know that. I remember the Torinos, but I didn't realize that the Torino was an updated Fairlane. I'm sure they were probably on the same chassis. The Torino was much more of a sporty car, no question about it. Yeah.
Actually found out that what it was Fairlane was actually a very popular car, and Ford made Fairlane to kind of be the in-between between Galaxy. I think it was, I can't remember the other one. It was like a Sprint or something. I'll have to look it up again. But
car.
It was a very popular car, and then, of course, this was during the muscle car era, so they were competing with Chevelles and Chargers and anything else coming out at that time. So they decided to basically rebrand their Fairlane, and they came out with the Torino.
Well, I remember my friend when I was in college, his dad bought him a brand new Torino, went for a ride in it. That was another car that all the ladies really liked. If you had a new car like that, boy, you never had a problem getting a date, right, Joe?
I
Joe's
never
over
had
there drinking. He never had a problem getting a date, no matter what he had.
I would go and say, "Hi, girls. I got a 19." Don't laugh, Kayla. You know, it was. I was young once,
right,
around 500 years ago. But it was. I'd say, "Hey, I got a 1966 Mercury Monterey 2-door with a black vinyl roof." But you know, the thing is that it's like if you had a car in any decade when you were in high school, you were the popular kid. But you know, the Torinos, I was looking at the car catalogs. They came in a El Camino version, and then of
the
course,
El Camino.
Well, no. I don't know the name.
It was the Ranchero.
Oh, Ranchero.
Ranchero. There you go.
Ranchero. Right.
Ranchero. But so, what made you get this car? I know it's very special. We use this car for your promo ads on social media. But what made this car make you just stop dead in your tracks and say, "I got to buy this car"?
Well, it actually belonged to a good friend of mine, and I was looking for a muscle car for my sister. She's into the fastbacks, but I kind of showed her a couple pictures of the Torinos and Fairlanes just kind of get an idea. She's like, "Oh, I really like that car." So I made a deal with my friend, bought that for my sister, and that's her first muscle car. So
Does she really like it?
She does. She takes pictures of it.
Oh, that's great.
So we plan on working on that this winter, actually. Going to take the engine out and get that rebuilt.
Okay. So right now, what our audience is seeing is, for our radio audiences, we have photographs that of someone's car that's already been fixed up. It was a Torino. And then we're going to be looking at a video that Kayla shot. So it gives you an idea of what the car looks like when it's done. And I always think it's a great way to show the video to see how much work is going to have to go into it. So, Kayla, with a car like this, it's when you were doing the video, where would you start on this car? It's like, would you start on the engine first, tearing it out, or tell our audience all about that?
I would honestly start with the engine and transmission and just the brakes. So just the mechanical part of it, since it's not in a really bad shape, you know.
Well, it looks good.
It's pretty straight. There is I think a part front that's unbolted that just needs to be bolted back up. And I would just focus on the getting it running.
Well, that would be step number one. Now here you have a car that's over 45 years old. How about the electrical? Would the electrical have to be torn out and new electrical put in?
Yeah, most cars around here, that's the case unless it's been garaged its whole life. This car actually came from a guy, like he would chase it. I think he chased it to herd his cows or something, so I wouldn't trust the wiring in that.
He herded cows with his car?
Yeah, a lot of the cars that I purchased came from like farmers, or maybe you know, I live out near a lot of old farms and barns and stuff. So eventually these cars kind of wind up being just God knows what, you know.
But that's a
Jerry
good-looking
rigs
car.
and-
That does not look like that thing had been hurting cattle. That's a great-looking car. The body looks really straight on it. I don't see any dents. It doesn't look like a lot of any very, very small amount of rust. That should be a wonderful car to put back together.
I think you should start.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I think you should start a GoFundMe page, and
Yeah.
so you can get the car up on the road, and
Right.
then your sister has a. Well, then your sister can take you places. How's that?
Yeah. We like going places,
She laughed.
right, Joe?
She laughed. She laughed. But you know, the thing is that when you look at a car like this, it's the first thing is what are the initial costs of
Yes.
getting it up? So Kayla,
Right.
just a ballpark, as we ask every week. Give me a ballpark, getting it up and running, so that that it could be drivable, and then after that, the body work that has to go into it to make it look presentable. Can you give us a figure on that?
On just the running part or all of it together?
No, just the running parts
Yeah.
to get it roadworthy, because everything else kind of follows them there, and the car looks very solid.
I would say just because I'd have to get the engine out, make sure a mechanic or a machinist make sure there's no like brakes, cracks, or you might have to bore or re-sleeve something. I would say probably 7,000.
7,000.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dusty?
Well, I don't know. First of all, you have to find out if the engine turns over. If the engine turns over, and
It
you
turns over. There is a transmission problem, and
Oh, okay.
just for me having to pay with from other cars that had transmission problems, it could get pretty pricey.
Well, the transmissions can. That could be fairly expensive rebuild. But if the engine turns over, we just go ahead and make sure that the cylinders are oil, change the oil, get a new battery in there. But if it turns over, and then see what happens, make sure your carburetor's clean. Maybe you'll save the expense of taking out the engine. How many miles are on the car?
You know what? It doesn't read very well.
Oh, it doesn't read very
I'm,
well?
I'm sure it's turned over all the way.
Well, it may have, but
Goose eggs. Goose
yeah,
eggs.
I'd start with the transmission, because that engine may still be very serviceable. I remember watching the movie. Remember, Joe, Gran Torino? Wasn't that
Yes.
a great movie?
Yep.
And those cars are very, very, very collectible when they're done. They're done right. So I know your sister's going to have a lot of fun with that car.
Now, Kayla, before you go, you had told me we were talking over the weekend last week that you finally have a buyer for your '67 Pontiac. Congratulations! And
Thank you.
And now you got to saddle it up for the weekend to take it to the owner.
Yeah.
And you had told me. Why don't you tell the audience what the car is going to be used for?
Okay, so the buyer bought it for his project for him, and I believe it's his son, but I'm not 100,
Yeah.
sure. I was talking pretty fast. It's going to be basically a donor car, so the engine will be taken out because it's an original engine from '67, and will be put into a '67 Firebird.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so a second life.
Sure,
Okay,
yeah.
that's great. And the thing is that it's cars like this that Kayla has. You have to contact her, but we're going to. If you're looking for a project car, these are the cars to get.
Yeah, and Kayla was saying that a lot of these cars are from farms or left in barns, and so a lot of them are well preserved. And of course, the ultimate is to find the barn find that's the $1 million car. So
Absolutely.
Kayla, keep looking. Your future might be assured, and there'll be guys lined up about 2 miles from your doorstep trying to marry you.
That's right. Now you never
There you
know.
go.
Well, she's going to have to check.
Well, I
with-
prefer them giving money, but
Well, Kayla would rather have money than anything else. But one thing, this was on our program several weeks ago. Kayla had showed off her 1942 Chevrolet.
Yes.
And this is one thing I want to, since this is the 75th anniversary of the D-Day invasion, is that in January of '42 they were starting to paint the cars white, and there was no chrome, so they just painted the trim black, and they called it the Blackout Edition.
Yeah.
Which I think is funny because now all you see out there is cars that are painted white with black trim.
So it comes around
comes around
every time.
and
Of course,
goes around.
back then they had what they call blackout lights, and a lot of the military vehicles had that. And the lights had little
Squares.
rectangles,
Yep.
little rectangles in them. So when the lights were turned on, that they couldn't be seen from above or very far away. So those blackout
And that's
cars, blackout
popular,
lights.
too.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
And but out in Montana, I didn't think they had a fear of
You never know.
the bad guys coming
I
in.
think out there the biggest concern is to make sure you don't have a searchlight on your cars, because I think it's against the law to go deer hunting with a searchlight, Joe.
Well, I think that's kind of cheating there. But so, Kayla, we're going to wrap up right now. Anything else you want to talk about with the Fairlane before we go?
Yeah, quick information, some fun facts. The Torino is actually not a Grand Torino. That's actually a separate model that came out
okay.
in
Sure.
1972.
Okay.
So it was in 1972, they made a higher sports model of the Torino, and that was called the Grand Torino Sport.
Got it.
Let
Very
it be
good.
known. And the thing is like we're going to be setting up a web page. We're going to have that out pretty soon. So if you have questions for Kayla, we'll have that available. Or if you want to buy one of her cars, that information will be available in the coming weeks. So stay tuned, And so Kayla, have a good trip to your destination, delivering your '67 Pontiac, and
Thank you.
have a fun weekend. And take plenty of pictures because I love to see them. So
Sure will.
Okay, kiddo. Have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
You too.
Okay, Kayla in search of classic
There
cars
you
with
go.
Zen.
Every week it's
And-
another car store. Of course, we're sitting here today in the Papa Shine radio showroom,
Yep.
and we got a big announcement.
the banner in
because
the
got
background there.
Yeah, the Papa Shine Corvette won a trophy down at to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah,
Corvette show.
congratulations on that.
Congratulations, yeah, to Papa Shine. And I want to tell you, the people that came up and looked at the finish on the Corvette, they couldn't get over it. And I showed them that you can actually clean your sunglasses with it. You can clean the windows with it. There's so many different things with Papa Shine.
Clean your stainless in
Yeah.
your
Right.
kitchen.
With Papa Shine car care products, that it was a huge hit, Joe.
Well, Papa Shine. Hey, they're on Facebook. Look them up and talk to Greg. So, hey, this is JoepeP. You're listening to Every Car Has a Story for our Facebook Live audience podcast. We're going to have a great video by Mark Stone, and we'll be back with part 2. So stay tuned. All right. Hey, this is JoepeP, and it's like in order to pay the rent, we have to have sponsors. So we like to talk about the lovely Connie from Manifest Design.
Yeah, Manifest has got all kinds of new things that came in. They've got some incredibly beautiful purses. That interesting purse that came in. They're made out of old army tents, if you can believe that. Here it is, D-Day, and these are the neatest. Women just absolutely love them. They have logos and sayings on them. It's a really hot item at
Wow.
Manifest Design. It's 3065 Howard Avenue. That's in Market Common in Myrtle Beach. It's 910-515-1333. And, of course, all the other things that Manifest has, beautiful, beautiful designer furniture, or furniture made in North Carolina with lifetime warranties on the frame. Have all kinds of choices for fabrics. Actually, you can get furniture there, designer furniture, pick out your own fabrics, cheaper than if you went to a regular furniture store and see what they have.
And then you have the Mustang chair.
Oh, you have the Mustang chair. That's there. Of course, you have the wonderful Cobra. And that's a showstopper. We have people come in and they always ask one question, Joe.
One question. Ready.
How much is it?
How much is it?
And I said,
And if you have
listen,
to ask, you can't afford
well,
it.
I never say that, but I do say that Manifest does take credit cards, and there is a layaway. So all you folks that are interested in furniture, big boy toys, beautiful designer items, hey, stop at Manifest Design, 3065 Howard Avenue, and it's a Market Common in Myrtle Beach.
All righty there. So we have like around 20 seconds left there. How about a fast pitch for Eddie's?
Yep, I stopped by and saw Eddie, Eddie's Hot Rod and Collision. That's 910-833-5600. 5473. And Eddie's still in the movie business doing movie cars. So if you've got a 40s car or a 30s car that you'd like to have in the movie, give him a call. He's also going to be moving his shop to 8869 Kings Row in Leland. So he's been looking for collector cars and cars for restoration. Eddie has done an incredible job. He's the man.
So, hey, we'll be back after our video podcast, and for our radio listeners, local news and information. So this is JoepeP.
And Dusty.
And this is Every Car Has a Story. We'll be back real soon.
When I'm not here in Studio 1 at Drystone Radio presenting my radio show, Backseat Driver, I could easily be over at Harewood Hill Climb covering the motor racing for Drystone Sport. Right, Joe and Dusty, you want to know something else I get up to? Behind me is the paddock at Harewood Hill Climb, absolutely bristling with veteran, vintage and classic races. So, yes, you guys in the States, this really is what you're missing. Are you enjoying yourself?
I'm really enjoying myself at Harewood.
Brilliant place. Super. How old's this?
106.
Does it go well?
No.
Well, I bet it's great to drive.
It's a load of fun. Right, see you soon.
What year is the Vauxhall?
1920.
1920.
Yep.
So, what's it like to drive?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's hard to get round corners though.
The noble art of sliding them round and on the throttle.
Yes, it's the steering wheel. I'm too short.
How long have you owned this?
My father bought it in 1946.
So it's a family heirloom besides the racing car.
My brother and I have been driving it since 2000.
Right.
So
you must enjoy driving.
Oh yes, we do. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed.
It's okay. Thank you very much.
The Napier Bentley. This car absolutely oozes history. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, look at this. Can you think of anything else? I mean, what a badge to have on it. Napier Bentley, the ultimate laxative. I could be at one of the big classic car shows, giving the live commentary in the arena. So when the match manufacturers say this car tops out at 187, 192, 210, they'll actually be able to prove it to themselves. Have you a comment for the camera, Mr. Dorsley?
How are we doing?
Not too bad. Is this one of yours?
It's what we replaced. We got rid of the Cuda.
Yeah.
And we did a trade. We got this.
Right.
So it's Michelle's really.
Right.
But she's away in Wales today. So
have you got the Demon still?
Still got the Demon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still got the Demon. Just got rid of the Cuda and got this instead.
Right. How do you like this?
It's a kit car really. It's awkward to get in, it's awkward to get out. Clutch is really heavy. It understeers when you push it a bit. It looks good. That's about it.
I know you guys over in the States like Jaguars, so here's just a small selection brought along by one of the regional Jaguar enthusiast clubs. They park here outside Capesthorne Hall. It's a stunning location for them. Today it's the Jaguars, tomorrow we have all the Mercedes-Benz here. But here is just a brief view of just some of the Jaguars that have braved the elements. I could be filming a review of one of the modern cars that I review. And welcome to another edition of MotoringNorthwest.com with me, Mark Stone. Don't adjust your devices, teleboxes, computers or whatever. This full-size Range Rover really is this brilliant white. I could just be carrying out any form of interview with the wonderful world of motoring, classic cars and motorsport.
And in a car that's 90 years old, quite a lot of power, not very much grip, it's very, very slippery.
And of course it runs on period tyres, which by modern standards are quite narrow. There you are, that's just a little bit of what I get up to over here in England. Right, back to you, Joe and Dusty, in the studio at Every Car Has a Story.
Hey, this is JoepeP, and we're back there for our radio audience. Hello, thanks for joining us back. You're listening to Every Car Has a Story. So we're on the radio on weekends.
Yep.
And we're Facebook Live podcasts in our...
Yeah, you can pretty much hear us up and down the East Coast, all the way from Statesville, Charlotte, all the way down to Myrtle Beach. All the car guys paying attention and giving us great stories to talk about. Want to make a very, very quick plug for Papa Shine again.
Papa Shine.
Yeah, give Greg a call, 615-207-9354. It is the very, very, very best automotive car care product. Got to tell you, Greg, Manifest Design sold out, so they'll be placing another order with you. So this is great stuff.
Great stuff. And you know what? It's a really great product. Not only can it make your car look spectacular, but the stainless steel products in your home and kitchen, it cleans it up. It cleans it up, and it cleans my garden tractor.
Oh.
I have the shiniest tractor on the block. You know, matter of fact, NASA contacted me.
Did they really?
Because there was this bright light coming from
Too much for glare up there in space,
Absolutely.
right?
And Papa Shine is our national sponsor,
Yes,
so
it is.
we like to thank Greg. And moving right along there, we have Uncle Jesse. He'll be phoning in from the Schwab's Pharmacy, and he'll be talking about Angel's Garage and what's going on. And what I understand from Angela, that the car is done.
Great.
And then we have Kayla will be doing a watercolor painting, which will be presented to the owner.
Oh.
And I
Can't
believe
wait
that,
to see that.
And I believe that will be on national television.
I can't
So
wait to
that'll
see
be
it.
great. So I mean, we got a lot of things going on there. So and then after that we have Mark Stone. Now I got to do this because I always bust his chops. It's like, oh, if Mark Stone is listening or watching, the Queen thinks that you just do a fantastic job. You're a tribute to the royal kingdom. And he'll be on at
It's going to be great stories.
one time. And we have Wally Hunt. Wally is in our studio audience there. And Wally, what AACA do you belong to?
Historic Fredericksburg region, Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Historic Fredericksburg region. So Wally's here. He's in the audience. He's got a bag of popcorn, and
Yeah, and he's got a
raisinets.
66 Pontiac, so he's a car guy.
He's a car guy. He's a true car guy, but he's in our radio audience right now. And if you're in Wilmington and you like to be a part of the radio audience, reach out to me on Facebook, and let's see what we can do. But the thing is that with cars, it's everything has a story.
They do. It's absolutely amazing. I was just doing a study on the Volvo of all cars, and lo and behold, for those in manufacturing, the SKF bearings are one of the very primary bearings in the nation, just like Timken.
Yep.
Do you know that SKF started Volvo?
Never
I have
knew
no
that.
idea. Every car has a different story. It's fascinating.
And so here we have another story coming in. It's Uncle Jesse. He's at the luncheonette counter at Schwab's in Hollywood, California. How you doing there, Uncle Jesse?
Hey, guys. How's the right coast today? Good?
Well, we're doing good. It's very hot and muggy and partly cloudy. But you know what? That's welcome to the oven, as we would say here in Wilmington. So tell us all this fantastic news that's happening at Angel's Garage.
Oh, boy. We're so busy we're bumping into each other, and we don't even want to because there's so much to do. Right now, Angela's straddling a hood on the car that she's polishing up.
Oh.
And looking really good. The one we're going to use in the trailer this weekend. We're going to film, and we're going to have the car chase and the whole 9 yards. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of things that we have to do right now before that happens. But Angela is working real hard. And they also said, Mark and Angela said, hello. And, oh, yes, I spoke with Damon Viola, and he said to say hi, and he's also listening in. But in the meantime, old Uncle Jesse is trying to find out what I'm supposed to do and do it right when we get on film.
You'll
be a part of it too.
Hey, we're excited.
It's I am so happy that I tingle with expectations of great things to come. It's like that Frank Sinatra song, the best is yet to come, and that's like, man, there's going to be a lot of fun things happening. So stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned because we're going to have great stories, and then we'll have Angel's Garage. And, to sign on with NBC Sports Network, that's mega. That's you can't get any higher than that.
It's going to be a great program. And the thing we talked about this program, this is a real car program. This is not where they take a break after they've got to get the car done in 10 minutes because they got to get it somewhere, but let's go roller skating in the meantime. This is a real car program where you actually go through all the different functions of getting that car ready, the good, bad, and the real issues when you prepare cars like this.
Absolutely. So, Jesse, before we go, we have Mark Stone calling in from the United Kingdom. So he'll be coming up next. But anything else, any words of wisdom before we part company for another week?
Well, you were talking about it couldn't get any bigger. Well, it is, because you folks are going to be on our show with us. So
what?
How do we do that?
we're going to put
we
you
leave
there.
it dawn.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
You know what? That means I'm going to have to wash my underwear and get a suitcase all set. And wow. Okay. This blows
it's
me
not that
away.
kind of a film, okay?
Okay.
No.
All right.
No. Okay. Wow. Okay, Jesse. It looks like I lost that bonus question there.
Yeah, Nick just closed the curtain on us.
That's it. He's walking out the door. So it's clean radio. It's clean radio and clean podcast.
It is.
So Jesse, let's talk about this further because now I'm really peaked, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Next week I'll be here. Happy trails, folks.
Happy trails. All right, Jesse Wild, part of the new NBC Sports Network, Angel's Garage. Had a brain fart there. And anyway, talking about telephone calls, live from the UK, Mr. Mark Stone. He's one heck of a guy.
Evening, Joe.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
How are we doing? Oh, that's right. It's nighttime for you.
It's nighttime. It's 25 to 7 in the evening over here in the sunny England.
Oh.
Wait a minute. It's nighttime, but it's sunny.
But he's probably...
Yeah, it's only 25 to 7. It's evening time. We don't turn the lights off completely until about 10 o'clock here at this time.
Right, that's right.
Now, are you good friends with the guy that lights the lamps, And
the lamp light. Now, listen, Mark's probably in his favorite pub right now. That's where I would be.
Well, no, I'm actually sat in the office at the moment. My office at the moment.
Okay. And then on the way to the pub.
No. Are we staying in? We'll go out later on. My better half will get home. We'll go out shopping, and then I'm going to watch the new film, Laurel and Hardy. Apparently, it's you and Dusty.
Very good.
It's you and Dusty apparently playing the parts.
Oh yeah, well of course they're well, Dusty, this is another fine mess you got me into. So. We've done all the comedy. Let's talk about Mark Stone. Yeah. Mark Stone has a show called Backseat Driver over in the UK. Phenomenal videos. And I highly
Backseat Driver radio show. What? Backseat Driver radio show, which is on Dry Stone Radio, which goes out at 11 o'clock every Sunday morning, which regrettably means it's 6 a.m. for you guys, but you can listen to it on podcast. The only thing you need to do is go on to all the W's motoringnorthwest.com and at the top of the homepage there's a big blue banner that says Dry Stone Radio. Click on that and you can link into the podcasts.
So it's motoringwest.com, is that correct?
Motoring Northwest.
Oh, Northwest. Okay.
Motoring Northwest. Can't you get that down there, Captain Dusty?
All right, got it. I'm copying my instructions.
Now, for our folks on the radio and for our guests that are watching on podcast, Mark Stone is on Facebook. And reach out and become friends with him. He posts these phenomenal videos. I'm like, what kind of car is that? I've never seen that. And I think Americans should know about these cars
Oh,
because
absolutely.
it's only once in a while you see a different type of car. Yes, we have the Volkswagens and the BMWs and the Alfa Romeos, and we have the Land Cruisers. But there's a lot of cars that we never see that Mark sees all the time.
All the time. And, of course, U.S. and British car companies are very much interrelated, back and forth. Designers from the U.S. to Europe to Great Britain. Wonderful cars from Great Britain. Oh, so many stories, so many great stories.
And that. So tell us a good car story, Mark. How'd you get started in all this?
I started back in about 1980. My father wanted me to become a civil engineer, which didn't appeal whatsoever. I thought I'd prefer to drive over bridges than build them.
Mm-hmm.
He was a keen rally driver, and it just passed on from there. A friend of mine had an MG Midget with a works-tuned engine, so we decided we'd go and hill climb it.
Sure.
From there, we progressed on to an MG BGT that I got fed up of racing the clock. I thought I'd prefer to race other people. So MG BGT, then V8 MG BGT, then Porsche 911.
Sure.
And from there, it just progressed. And until like 86, 87, I raced cars for a living. That was back in the era when you could actually make a little bit of a living out of it. Unlike today, where you need somebody just worked it out. If you want to go from zero to an F1 driver, you need a budget of a minimum of £8 million, or working on 2-to-1 exchange, $16 million.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to have deep pockets, and you got to have big sponsors, or else you have to be born with the right parents. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I crashed, like most racing drivers. I crashed, and I totaled the car, walked away, fell over. I still fall over periodically because my souvenir is two rather aged knees, arthritis in the left shoulder, and various other ailments, and I wouldn't change it for a moment. I would do it again. Then 2000 to 2008, a great friend of mine who owned at the time one of the biggest private collections of ex-works Porsches said, would you come and drive some of these for me? So we did a lot of the major European events. All the while I'd started writing and taking photographs of cars. I worked on the theory, well, people seem to like what I have to say about cars.
Sure.
And so for 30 years, I've been a motoring journalist, radio presenter, occasional television presenter, but rarely in England, mainly in France and Germany. And now the zenith of my career, I'm on the radio with JoepeP and Dusty.
There you go.
And, you know, when you sent that video over and you mentioned my name and Dusty, I'm like, my gosh, it's like my name was mentioned in England.
Yeah, they know where to find you now, Joe.
Now they know where to find me.
They know where to find you now, Joe. I've been, as you probably noticed, I've been busy posting and being big-headed about it all. Somebody once said to my wife, Karen, what is it about Mark? I mean, he does a lot of radio work, and I do a lot of live commentary work in the arenas at the big car shows.
Right.
And she said he has the three main ingredients to do what he does.
Right.
Big head, big mouth, big ego.
Oh, jeez.
That's correct. Well, you know what? It's like what we do, it's kind of like showbiz. I mean, we could sit behind a table and say, yes, and here is a car.
I think we did that on the first show.
Oh, it was, yeah, Dusty, Mark, Dusty said to me when we did our first show, he goes, hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Every Car Has a Story program.
And we finally got over it. Yeah, we got over it.
So now this is show 78, and we're talking with great people like Mark Stone, and hopefully, you know, it's all but with Mark's schedule. If he could send us a video here and there.
And we'd love to hear about some of the car shows that you attend, and some of the vehicles that Joe was mentioning. Yeah,
Mark, tell our audience and tell Dusty about this one car show you went to where you had aircraft and automobiles.
Oh, wow, love airplanes.
That was the one. I'm heavily involved with an organization called the Tiger Moth Squadron.
Sure.
And basically what it is, it's two tiger moths that
Yep.
are soon to be joined by a Boeing Stearman
Mhm.
and next year by a two-seater Spitfire.
Okay.
And basically, if you want to go up in one of them, you part with your hard-earned cash
Mhm.
and you will be taken for a flight. But
Sure.
where it's based, a place called Sherburn Aero Club in Yorkshire,
Yeah.
not far off the city of York,
Yeah.
they have a big event where classic cars drive in, classic aircraft fly in,
Mhm.
and they just raise money. I was there on Monday. Now, apparently it's a TV show you guys get called
Mhm.
Only Fools and Horses.
Ah.
Which, and one of
know
the
that?
leading actors.
Oh, okay.
But I am familiar with the tiger moth. That was one of the primary trainers way
It was
back.
a primary trainer for the simple reason
Yeah.
it was notoriously difficult to fly.
Sure, if you could fly that, you could fly a Spitfire.
If you
Spitfire.
could fly that, you could fly a Spitfire.
Yeah, but the
A
Spitfire
while
is
ago-
not that hard to fly. It's fairly simple
No.
aircraft, but if you get a tough trainer, that weeds out all what we call the weenies, the guys that don't have the natural aeronautical abilities. So that's fantastic. You've got these airplanes.
Well, apparently one of the things when they were training, those that weren't any good used to crash them, not surprisingly.
Well, that's one way
So
to
what-
handle the problem.
What they used to do was, because the actual aircraft itself is only wood and
Yes.
Irish linen that's
Yes.
then covered in dope to
Right.
tighten it up.
That's it.
They used to take the engine out of the crashed one and put it in a new one and just leave the crashed one where it was.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of the time when the Navy actually built their own training aircraft. So, I think they had the same concept. Only the survivors became fighter pilots.
Yeah,
That's a
it was
great
one-
story.
like you said, it was
So-
one way of getting. One
Yeah.
way of wheedling them out when he's crashed, so he's no
Yeah,
good.
well, tell me about this two-seater Spitfire. I'm a naval aviator. I'd love to get in the front seat of one of those puppies and ring it out a little bit. Tell us about that aircraft, the history of that aircraft.
The two-seater Spitfires, some were actually built by Supermarine, and
Yes.
some have been converted. They were designed as trainer aircraft
Mhm.
and for observation work.
Yes.
They are. Some of the, shall we say, factory-built ones are just slightly longer than the
Yes, right.
standard one. But there again, as you'll know, the Spitfire became longer and longer and longer over its production run
Yes.
for the simple reason they kept putting larger engines
Yeah,
into them.
exactly. They kept
I see,
upgrading the
yeah.
engine. It started out as a two-bladed prop and went all the way up, I think, finally to a four-bladed prop with a bigger engine. The aircraft evolved over the period of time, but the two-seaters obviously gave these young fellas a chance to get some airtime before they soloed, although a lot of the Spitfire pilots, they got through the Tiger Moths, and if they survived, they just jumped in there and said, this is how you fire it up, and good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Wow. So what
And if
kind
you
of
didn't
car,
get
Mark? What kind of cars attend? So we had the airplanes. What kind of
Mm-hmm.
cars do we see at this event?
You tend to get because it's vintage aircraft. What you get the famous little MGTAs, or the original midgets,
Sure.
which a high percentage of them during the Second World War, most of the pilots used to like driving along
Yes.
with the Rileys
Right.
and singers, because it was the archetypal or quintessential British sports car.
Yes.
But the one thing that happened, that's how a lot of them are ended up where you guys are.
Yes.
Because when the American pilots had finished their tour of duty in England, they took them back to the
That's right.
States with them. So that's why you got all the little MGs.
Absolutely, and that's the genesis of the sports car era coming to the United States. Heretofore, that wasn't something that was recognized. These veterans coming back from Europe and Great Britain loved the original MGs, and of course the pilots and the Royal Air Corps, they drove them because they were hot cars.
Yeah. Mark, we're coming up to the 53 mark here. And
Yeah.
so before we wind down, tell our radio audience and podcast audience where they can find you, if they want to listen to old school radio, or is it short wave, and a website and Facebook.
As I said, it's Dry Stone Radio 103.5 FM, but you guys certainly won't pick that up. So if you go to www.motoringnorthwest.com, top of the homepage, you'll see a big bright blue banner that says Dry Stone Radio. Click on that, follow the links, and it will take you through to either the live show, which, as I said, if you listen to it it's 11 a.m. till 12 noon on every Sunday, but for you guys it will be 6 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Right.
But you can follow it through to the podcast, so you can listen whenever you like. All podcasts, you can listen wherever you want. But also on all the W's, motoringnorthwest.com, you can read my car reviews, and you can link through to the YouTube and watch all the short videos.
Wow, and you know, I'll tell you, for all the clubs that are listening, the Jaguar Club, the BMW Club.
Sure.
This is really good radio. Mark really does a heck of a job.
Boy, if you love English cars, if you love history of the English cars, you love airplanes, it's www.motoringnorthwest.com, and you look at Drystone Radio, and that's how you get it. We got it.
So, Mark, let's see, we've got a couple more minutes left. So what will be on this Sunday for our listeners?
This Sunday I have a friend of mine coming on called Dave Gidman, who works for Lamborghini. Mm-hmm. So he's coming on to talk about Lamborghini.
Yes.
And then in just over a week's time, my show will go out, but I'm commentating at a huge event in South Wales called Motoring at the Manor, Celtic Manor. And then I'm at a show once again over on the East Coast, where we're expecting at least 300 Jaguars to appear. So you'll be getting
that'd be a great show.
You'll be getting a video. You'll be getting a video on the Jaguars.
Well, I know a lot of people that have Jags, and then we have the Carolina Jaguar Club.
Sure.
Great people.
That'd be fantastic. Can't wait to see that show.
And you know, again, it's all about the car. It's all about the story, and all these cars have the stories. I think the first time I really saw different cars was with the TV show The Avengers, and my first heartthrob.
You know,
this is Peel.
Talking about Lamborghinis, I saw a Lamborghini brand new one in Myrtle Beach a couple of weeks ago, and it was lime. I guess it would be lime green. It was absolutely gorgeous, and all the women were getting around this car looking at it, and the door opened, and this guy got out, and he was about 95 years old with a cane. I don't know how he was driving that thing. It was the darnest thing I've ever seen. But if you're in Myrtle Beach, there's a lime green brand new Lamborghini out there.
So, Mark, here's a question that only comes from the United States. What is the most favorite car in Europe and the least favorite?
I would say the two favorite brands are Ford.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, even though Ford has just closed its engine plant in South Wales.
Yes.
Ford, BMW, Mercedes-Benz.
Mm-hmm.
And it tends to be the smaller ones as well.
Sure.
Wow. And the least favorite, before we say goodbye?
There are a lot of least favorites.
It's hard to say what the least favorite is.
Yugo? Was it the Yugo?
Well, they don't make them anymore.
Yeah, that's why.
But the one that they don't make anymore that people used to laugh at was Lauda. The one that they used to laugh at, and it is now one of the best cars you will ever drive, is Skoda.
A student.
Wow.
Skoda. And they are coming to America, I can assure you. Skoda cars are coming to America.
And you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Mark Stone, thank you so much. Catch his show. Really, go to Facebook and sign him up as a friend, because I'll tell you, he's the man. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he's one. And I'm going to say this word: he's one hell of a nice guy. You know. So.
Well, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna be watching.
And wait a minute.
Well, you have two Facebook pages. You've Mark Stone or It's Me, Mark Stone.
Got it. Wait a minute. We have someone here. What's that? Just tell Mark Stone he's just wonderful, smashing, and tell him to come over with some tea and crimpets. We just love to have him over there. Mark Stone, thank you so much. And he'll be back with video more this summer.
Fantastic.
There. So we're going to be winding down. We got like a minute left. And, you know, thanks to our sponsors, Papa Shine, the Manifest Design, Eddie's Hot Rod. We have Wally Hunt. Yep. He's off camera. We don't have a cameraman.
Who's our guest next week? Is it a surprise? Or?
No. We have Johnny Martinez. He's he's friends with Ken Vella and Fireball Tim.
Oh, great.
And he'll be talking about his career in pinstriping.
Oh, wow.
He's out on the West Coast. So we hear the music. Wally's finished with his popcorn. So this is JoepeP.
And Dusty.
And you're listening to Every Car Has a Story. See you next week, folks. Take care. Bye-bye. Happy motoring.